look, we did the hot seat draft earlier today on PFT Live, and you and I both considered putting Mike Tomlin on the hot seat. I can't imagine the Steelers firing him because they never fire anybody, especially coaches, although Chuck Noll was kind of nudged out after, all those years of greatness, but then there were some years of relative mediocrity. But look, it all comes down to dollars and cents. And if people start staying away from those games, and eventually people in Pittsburgh will, they will only take so much ineptitude before they say, screw this, we'll go to Penguins games instead. That's when you have to take it more seriously. The Rooneys have been able to stand behind Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin because far more often than not, the teams are good. They were not like that pre-1969 because the teams weren't good. They were like every other team where you got to fire somebody after every few years if you stink. So if the Steelers are going to stink this year, and they're already 3 games into stink, is Mike Tomlin vulnerable? And I really do think that there's a way the dominoes fall where Art Rooney decides I got to make a change, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Hey, that's the perception. Perception's reality. They're not playing good. They didn't go to the playoffs last year. The Antonio Brown saga. Mike Tomlin's a defensive coach. Their defense is 28th in football. Mike Tomlin's the winningest coach ever in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's been to 2 Super Bowls, won one of them. There's a lot of great. But, yeah, it's not looking good right now. I don't expect it to be an in-season change. I don't think that's like the DNA of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I agree. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think it'll be something they do after the season's over. But, yeah, if things continue this way, it's hard not to say that he wouldn't be on the hot seat and that they wouldn't consider a change just the way things have gone down the last few years. Now, I'll say this. For some reason, Mike Tomlin gets blamed for the Le'Veon Bell situation, which I think we both agree. Come on. That was just business in the NFL, and Le'Veon Bell had the guts to basically play hardball, and he did that. That had nothing to do with Mike Tomlin and managing the football team. And I think the other thing where we can defend Mike Tomlin a little bit, and I know, okay, he's partly to blame too, but damn, I think we've learned he did a lot of good managing damn Antonio Brown. I mean, he did some miracle work.
Did he though?
Well, he might have like helped, bring along the monster a little bit. I get it.
He created the monster.
But he's still within that monster, went like 7 or 8 years of handling that monster until the end of last year, where really financial components got into this and Antonio Brown, and that's why he wanted out of there. So, we're seeing the Raiders, the Patriots, Antonio Brown wasn't that easy to handle altogether with all the things that goes on.
And maybe the monster had to be created, otherwise it had to be killed, right? I mean, if Mike Tomlin didn't enable him, it all would have fallen apart, and they wouldn't have had the benefit of a very talented Antonio Brown, and he would have been out of the league a long time ago.
Exactly.
Maybe this meltdown would have happened in 2012.
Right.
So he did create a set of rules for Antonio Brown and look the other way on some things, but maybe he knew in his heart he had to, because this is one guy you can't push, even though he's a 6th-round pick. Because I've said before, look, at some point between being a 6th-round pick from Central Michigan and becoming the best receiver in the NFL, there's a way to clip his wings and keep him from becoming a diva. Maybe Mike Tomlin knew there was no way he was going to stop it from happening, and it was just going to all fall apart if he didn't accommodate Antonio Brown. So I got to give him some credit there.
Yeah.
I'll give him a little credit.
Yeah, good for you. That's all right. I think he does deserve it. I mean, listen, if Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells drew a hard line with Lawrence Taylor, I don't think things would have worked out real well. I think there's a number of relationships we could have gone through in the history of football where we go, man, if they really drew a hard line and tried to clip the wings, as you say, that could have just fallen apart. We never would have saw that star really flourish. And I think there's a number of examples, and it's part of football and what happens sometimes.
Some of you may be saying, well, wait a minute, how can Mike Tomlin be on the hot seat? Didn't he get an extension in the offseason? But remember, and when we were able to kind of scratch the surface a little bit, it is ultimately a 1-year bump.
Yeah.
And it's not nearly the kind of financial commitment that would keep the Steelers from making a move if they believe their broader business interests necessitate making a change. And I know from being 100 miles away from Pittsburgh, anytime that team struggles on Mike Tomlin's watch, you have people in Pittsburgh who want to get rid of him.
Yeah.
And if they are 0-4, 0-5, 0-6, 1-8, 2-10, that's not acceptable based upon the standard they've set in Pittsburgh, and that's the kind of thing that can get people overwhelmingly in support of making a coaching change. And if it ever becomes a serious financial issue for the Steelers, then I think they have no choice but to move on.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.